Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of A Father's Note, where we promote fatherhood through building men. As always, we're so happy that you take the time out of your busy schedule to spend the evening with us. We've had to make some changes because most of the time that we definitely be broadcasting through our Facebook channel. However, for whatever reason, we're able to log in through our Facebook channel. So for that reason, we'll solely be broadcasting on our YouTube channel tonight. So please, while you're there, go ahead on and like. If you find that, let me say this first. If you find that this broadcast is beneficial to you and it's helpful and it's meaningful and you're getting something out of it, we want to encourage you to go ahead on and like and subscribe to the channel, like and share the content just to help promote this channel. We certainly would appreciate that. And we want to say thank you to all of you who have supported our channel throughout the years. And we're grateful for what we do. As a lot of you know, that this is a channel that has been established specifically to support men, fathers especially. And it's a necessary, it's a necessary platform, like many others, because there are so many men that are going through so much today, and they need to know that, here on this platform, we provide a platform where men can come and get good content that would be beneficial and helpful to them. I'm gonna ask you all to do something. If you're hearing us okay, how about let us know in the comments so that we make sure that we're good and the audio is good. Because again, we had to kind of make some changes, but we wanted to make sure that you are hearing us tonight and that we want to come on. But we're going to be talking about uh, why I was wrong about Kirk Franklin. Uh, it's no question that, thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's no question that over the years that we've seen this young man, his whole life go through such a change, such a challenge, such a transformation that a lot of us, even I, especially those of us that are in the Christian realm, or say the Christian arena, area, genre, whatever name you want to, however you may want to phrase it, that we've questioned some of his actions. We've questioned his behavior, i.e., especially his interaction with his son, Carry and I can tell you now that, yeah, I did find some fault with him. I thought that he was really conducting his way in a way that was not fruitful to his profession and his confession as far as when it came to Christ and when it came to Jesus. However, when last year, 2023, he released a documentary entitled Father's Day. And when I watched it, it's about an hour, almost 2 hours long. But when I watched the documentary, I'm sitting there and I'm like, wow, that explains it all. That explains why he conducted himself in such a way in which that he did. And I want to say this not to, get ahead of what I have outlined for you tonight. However, I want to say that this man, his ministry, no matter how successful it was, no matter how many people that God allowed him to minister to, I was in awe that he was able to do it from a broken place. This man, Mr. Franklin, was a broken man doing what he was doing. And the only way that he was able to was because I think that when you really look at it, um, music was his outlet for his pain. Music was his comfort. Music was his peace. I would even go as far as to say that um, a lot of his songs, he wrote a lot of his songs from a place of brokenness, a place of peace, a place of pain, a place of redemption at times, a place of repentance. Just name a song. I think it doesn't really matter. But he was successful now, and he was very talented, right? But I want to go back to his Father's Day um, documentary. And if I'm doing okay here, how about let me know in the comments, okay? Uh, he started it out. To tell you the truth, I would say that within the first 30 seconds of his documentary, Father's Day documentary, that pretty much spelled it out. That pretty much said it all. Based on how he opened up, because the first thing he acknowledged was that he had been homeless. Uh, there were times he had to bathe in the church bathroom. He won 19 Grammys. He had a career beyond his imagination. He survived death several times. And I wonder if, I'm just asking, I don't know. I don't know much about him, no more than what maybe like a lot of you who have watched him over the years and seen what he has been able to accomplish from afar. But I don't have privy to his personal life. Nevertheless, these are words that he said, but I wondered when he said that I survived death several times. I wonder if there was ever a time that through his pain that he ever thought about committing suicide. But I believe, though, that that possibility could have been there. And I say that because I, too, being a person who have experienced that pain in which that he has experienced, have contemplated taking my life, especially when here it is, you're striving so hard to do what is right. You're striving so hard to be of value, not only to yourself, but to others. But it seems that no matter what you do, you're never satisfied. There's never no satisfaction in it. He even went on to say that he had endured public shame. But in 2023, he said, but none of that would prepare him for what God had in store for him in 2023. And that was when he came to learn of his biological father. And it's amazing. We have a tendency, though, in all actuality and honesty, to want to downplay the importance of fathers in a young man's life. And I'm going to talk directly to the fathers tonight. I want to talk directly to mothers, but not to a full extent. We may save that for another time. But I can tell you now that it is vitally important that a son needs his father. It is important that a father is in his son's life. But I can tell you this ordeal in which that Mr. Franklin experienced, it was traumatic. And I believe that a lot of us a lot of those who uh, uh, have been around him, even if you were not in the circle, and I think that's the only way you not know, we're not listening to what he was saying. Because when I look back and I listen to his music, there was a lot of times that he was crying out. There was a lot of times that, man, he wanted that pain to go away. And the only way that pain would go away was that he wanted to know who his father was. And I want to go ahead on with some other things that he had said that were said in this documentary that I thought that was very important. So, first of all, he expressed that he was born in a low income household, but his original name was Kirk Smith, not Franklin. Kirk Smith. Now, why it was changed to Franklin, I don't know, but his original name was Smith. And it goes on to say that he went on to say that he was adopted by a woman whom he identified. I think her name was Gertrude. She was 64 years old, and he was 4 years old at the time. And she was a distant relative. And one of the things that I think was very important that I think at this point, regardless of how we may like it or don't like it, that saved his life was the fact that she raised him in the church. But he said this. The thing also that this is another point that he pointed out, that he said that there was never a time that growing up, that I did not know that I was adopted. In essence, I grew up all my life knowing that I was adopted, whereas that there are some children that grows up in families, don't know that they are adopted, not until they are of age. But ever since he was 4 years old, he grew up knowing that he was adopted by this lady. But he also stressed this. He said, even though I grew up adopted, I may have had cousins and nephews or whatever, but I was always lonely in life. I was always lonely in life. Now, this is a documentary that he's having at the age of 53 years old. So when you think about it, for 49 years of his life, even in all his success, even in all the accolades and the praises and the rewards and the Grammys and everything that he won, and the people that were always around him, even having a family of his own, deep down inside, he grew up lonely. He grew up lonely. But yet, his saving grace was that old piano that Miss Gertrude had in her home. And that music, that piano, is the music that came from it, became his outlet. In essence, music, it became an asset to him. And it was also a part of him, or a way of him, especially being raised up in the church, that established him to have, or to, shall I say, to begin his relationship with God. Um, but then he goes on to say that I'm going to say this. This is not what he said, but I'm going to say this: that when you look at it, his world began to unravel when uh, his mother's sister had died, from my understanding, and there was a funeral, and he was contacted about the funeral, that his aunt had died, but he did not want to go because he did not want to have any contact with his mother, whom he had not seen in 23 years. So now think about it. He's a young man who does not know who his father is. He's a young man that is not receiving love from his biological mother. I'm going somewhere here. Just bear with me. That's a lot to entail. That's a lot for one man to have to endure, a young man who is yearning for love. Okay. And, but it is understood that during the funeral, that a rumor arose that there was a gentleman by the name of Rick, that had stated that he had dated Kirk's mother, Debbie, when they were younger. You know, I guess they had some kind of fling, no matter how long it was, but they had dated, and that there was a possibility that he was the father. Now, I won't play none of the content because I don't want to deal with any copyright issues from it, but I want to definitely express this, how why I say that I was wrong about Kirk. And a lot of the things that I felt negative about him, that now I understand why he did, or he did what he did, and why he was doing what he was doing, and why he is the man that he is today. And so in essence, it finally reached his Mr. Rick's ears, and also Debbie, his mom, contacted him and told him that the rumor was a lie, that it was not so, that this man was not his father, right? This man was not his biological father. But nevertheless, Mr. Rick, he um, submitted to a DNA test, which he had did on his own. He went and submitted it, and finally, the doctor had, of course, Kirk followed up with it, and then he was informed that this man was his biological father, and it absolutely was devastating to Mr. Kirk Franklin. And I'm going to tell you why, because he had buried a man that he thought was his father for so many years, and he made a comment. He said, I hated a man all my life that was never my father, that did not deserve what my hatred toward him. He said that he did went to see him and visit him, and they had some dialogue together, but I don't think that he was really satisfied. I really believe that deep down inside, that he felt that something was just off, it wasn't right. I really believe that. Yeah, absolutely. He was looking for identity, and that's where we want to go. So when you look at it, the call from his doctor, it released an onslaught of emotions within him. I mean, it's just whatever and I believe that I'm not here to profess or to proclaim that I'm some form of therapist or anything, and that I'm not. But I believe, though, that to know that here it is, that here's a man who strong possibility, 99.9% can be my father. It released all kind of emotions within him at 53 years old. Now, some of us may think that that's a small feat or it shouldn't be no big deal, but yes, it is a big deal, especially when you as a young man, need your identity. And it's obvious, just as someone put in the comment. Look, every young man is looking for identity. And the number one place where he's looking for his identity is with his father. It's from his father. He needs his father to put a stamp on who he is. If he doesn't have an identity from his father, he's going to get an identity from somewhere. And if that somewhere can be any individual, whether male or even females, okay, let me say that would give him an identity because they have a strong influence over his life. So that's what's important. But yet, here it is, this man's emotions was off the chain. They were out of there. And it was interesting that when he got the news from his doctor, he shouted out, he said, my mother done lied to me again. She done lied to me again. So it's obviously that his mother kept perpetuating his feelings, his emotions, by not being truthful with him. Even in the documentary, she called him and swear, I won't lie to you. I tell you the truth. This is not him. He's not, that's a lie. It's not the truth. He's not your father, so forth and so on. But check this out. I wrote this. Though Kirk had phenomenal success in his life, it wasn't enough to validate who he was. So it's no doubt that Kirk needed his father to validate him. He was looking for his father to sign off on him as a man. Y'all might disagree with it, may not like it, or say, oh, he's just overboard. There's no justification for his actions. In some case, yes, but if you don't know, if you don't never walked in his shoes, it would be absolutely impossible absolutely impossible for you to understand the amount of pain this young man was feeling at the time. I don't want to go too far because I'm going to share something with you all. He needed his father to validate him, no question. And it's funny that, again, going back, he was lied to again about this other man being his father. And he was, again, looking for validation. But yet still, though, it wasn't enough. But when he finally got it, when he found out who his father was, man, I can only imagine. I believe that he was in a place where he was relieved, yet maybe some anger was still there, because he expressed it how he hated, he despised his mother, but yet still he was looking for validation, right? He made this comment. He said, "I would give up every trophy that I won just to be somebody's son. Every trophy that I won, I would give it up just for someone to call me son, and I can call them daddy." That's a powerful phrase. That's a powerful statement. And we wonder why we have so many of our young men that are absolutely out of control, that are absolutely undisciplined, that are absolutely engaging in behavior and characteristics and in activities that are not fruitful or that are not beneficial to them, because they never had someone. If they did, they had someone validate them who didn't care, who did not care. Now, I know what I can only imagine how some of you and what some of you may be saying right now. But this man was hurt. All that KIRK did, he did it from a hurt place. He was looking for why you know what? Let me go here. Let me say here, and some of you may kick back at this, but let me go here. Check this out. Why did he go to the world? Why did he have to look to the world for validation? Could it possibly be because he did not find it in the church? Yeah, I'm sure that he had a love for God, and maybe he still do. But yet, though, if there is no one that is speaking truth in his life, if there was no one that was pulling on his coattail, telling him, "No, KIRK, you cannot do that," if there was no one that was bringing correction, sound correction to him from a place of love, a place of care, of course, he's going to go and continue to go the wrong way. He was looking for someone to love him as a father. Let me ask this question. Some of you, and I'm not trying to speculate. I wonder if there was a man who may have sheltered or taken in KIRK and say, "Hey, I'm going to love you as my son." What's the possibility that that man didn't violate him? Yes, I said it. Why would I say that? Because when you look, there are some things that were going on in this young man's life, in Mr. Franklin's life. Let me be specific. And I'm not calling him, I'm not saying anything or insinuating anything. Please don't misunderstand me. Nor am I accusing him of anything. But there's no question, and I have no doubt in my mind, that there was some trauma in this young man's life, in Mr. Franklin's life. But he says that but look, when you look at it again, out of all of the accomplishments that KIRK had achieved over the span of his life, it was never enough to fill the void of the love that he longed for from his father. So y'all question then, well, that some of your mothers may feel, not all, because we have some good mothers out there, and I applaud you. You may feel that you can raise your son without his father in his life. Don't say that. Stop that. Because if that was the case, then, right? If that was the case, then fathers would never have been created, but God created fathers for a reason. Every son needs his father. He needs that bond. He needs that relationship about himself. You got to go and watch this video, watch this documentary. Because what was so sad that in the end, even after he took the DNA test twice, and it both came back showing positive that I believe his name was Mr. Rick, was his father. He went to see him. They sat down, they talked, and this is what Mr. Rick said. He said he never knew. He never knew that his mother was pregnant. And she never told him. She kept it from him. And she was in denial, still in denial, probably still in denial to this day. And all he had wanted from his mother was for her to acknowledge the truth. But even when they came together, he got the aunt together, he got his mother together with his biological father to talk about this. And she still denied this man in his face. Can you imagine that? Wait a minute, Mom, what are you doing? What are you doing? Why are you so afraid, so ashamed to say that this man is my father? Why? Why are you taking this away from me? Why are you robbing me of this? Listen to what he said. He told his mother, he said, if you can't give me this, no hug, no words of encouragement, no sugar, no joke, nothing can substitute what I deserve and what I have needed and what I have missed. That's what he said. And then his aunt, Sandra, says to his mother, hey, just tell him the truth. And she walked out that meeting refusing to give KIRK the truth, yet denying KIRK of what he needed. So now here it is. Thank God he has his father. Thank God. But now he's still lacking, is without the love of his mother. That's painful, you all. That's painful. So when you look at it, as a son, he was placed in a position. He was placed in a position of whether or not to love his biological mother or not, when you think about it. That's the position he was placed in. Is it fair for him as a child? Is it fair for him as a son to do that, to have to be put in that position? But I wrote this when I was watching this. I said, what you do is not who you are. And your identity was never to be in your gift. He was a performer and entertainer. He was a minister of the gospel. He was talented, songwriter, promoter, musician, very gifted, but he was still a man without an identity when you look at it. We got some comments here. Thank you for your comments. The religious systems put him in a box instead of mentoring and equipping him. We just don't know, but what we do know is he was broken and hurt and searching for identity, purpose, and meaning. Absolutely. So if he wasn't getting what he needed from the church, he went to the world to get it. He went to the world to get it. We have another comment here. It says the spirit of rejection is passed to a baby in her mother's womb because of the mother's choices. And that's what happened. See, and I'm glad she said that because that's what he was dealing with. All of this here was built, was established, and what he was dealing with was rejection. Because even in the beginning, he said that he was questioned. He would see his mother when he was young. He would see his mother like twice a year. And then he would question himself, well, why is it that I'm not able to go with you? And he phrased it and he used this analogy. He said it's like every time, he said it's like pulling the scab off of a sore every time you left. In essence, you kept, every time I see you, I want to be with you, but why am I not fit enough to be loved by you? Why am I not worthy enough to go with you, to be in your presence, to even have your love? So guess what? He grew up without love from both of his parents. So what it did, yes, absolutely. He was dealing and he lived, I'm going to say this here, he lived his entire life through a spirit of rejection, which brought brokenness into his heart, which brought brokenness into his spirit. So with that, I'm going to have to go on record and say that I apologize for every wrong thought that I had about Mr. Franklin as to why his behavior. You see, not only did, so then when I look at it, it also showed even more why his relationship with his son, Carry-On, was as bitter as it was. Because, can I help y'all? Unless you have, as a father, unless you have a pattern in order to follow after, whether or not that, let me go this way. Whether that pattern is good or whether that pattern is bad, because we are creatures of learned behavior, you will model what you have been exposed to. You will model what you learn from. So if you have an abusive father and you have witnessed your father being abusive to your mother, guess what's going to happen? Unless God intervenes, you're going to become an abusive husband yourself. Yes, you will. You're absolutely right. It is a generational curse. It's a generational pattern unless God intervene and change your ways. You completely sell out to him. Y'all can say whatever you all want to say about the spirit of spirit of rejection. Not only just deal with rejection, birth rejection or hostility, but that spirit of rejection can lead to you having or developing a murdering spirit, because I did. And let me get, and the reason that I can say I understand where KIRK is at, because I knew who my father was. I knew who my father was. I grew up with him in the house. But yet, for 30 years, I grew up despising him. Why? Because all I ever wanted to hear my father say to me was that, son, I love you. And for 30 years, I'm talking about we bumped heads like crazy. And I'm talking about to the point, some of you may not like what I'm going to say, but I can only be honest and truthful to help those of you who may be struggling with this thing, to help to bring healing and to tell you fathers why. Listen, whatever you can do, whatever you have to do, stay engaged in your son's life. Even if he is an adult and you have no relationship, please do what you can in order to mend it. Because your son needs your love. He needs your affirmation. He needs you to affirm who he is. Because other than that, he will grow up without identity, not knowing exactly who he is. And if all he does, I'm going to say this, but if all he does is spend time around his mama, around auntie, around sisters, around cousins that are women, guess what kind of ways he's going to develop? He will develop feminine ways, and then we wonder why, but then yesterday we telling him, you need to man up. But how? When you, mother, when you, mama, are depriving your son of his father. Yeah, I'm not making no excuses for any fathers that are not fulfilling your responsibility. But we can't blame every father out there. Just because a father is not in a child's life. Now, in this case, in Mr. Franklin's case, we see that it was not the fault of the father, but it was the fault of the mother. I don't want to talk, look. Man, I'm telling you right now, I'm grieving, I'm full. I'm full because I know this pain. But I'm grateful. I'm grateful to God. And I'm going to say to your sons, learn your father for yourself. Don't listen to what nobody say. And if you are holding anything in your heart against your father because he was not there or he struggled being there, or though he expressed he wants to be in his life, but his life is not together, forgive him anyway. You're not forgiving him for him. You're forgiving him for yourself so that you can heal. Mm-hmm. You need to heal. I said this, it's a possibility that your father struggled being a father to you because his father struggled being a father to him. Because his father failed him in rearing him up to be the man and preparing him for manhood, preparing him for husbandhood, preparing him for fatherhood. Why? Because his sonhood was jacked up too. See, we have a tendency, and society today have the nerve to want to downplay fathers. They have a nerve. The system is set up to want to lock up fathers. Even as far as we go back to the Civil Rights Act, I'm going to go here and I'm going to say this. It is funny, even now today, some 50, 60 years later? Well, Mom, I want you to know the government can take better care of you if you put that father out of the home, and we will provide for you. We will become your father. We will become your husband. We will father your children. I know somebody ain't gonna like this here. But what do we have? What did that decision that a lot of you mothers have made What has that brought you? You find yourself, oh my God, do I really need to go here? You find yourself, yes, I'm going to go here. You find yourself living in a modern day plantation called hood. Oh, I went there. Okay, let me get off there because I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there. Let me lay that alone. But I know I'm telling the truth. I'm telling the truth. Before the 1960s, marriage amongst especially Black Americans was 75%. Now that done flipped to 75% divorce rate. Why? Because we have women have been taught, have been brainwashed, have been programmed to think and to believe that they can raise a family of men and women by themselves when God never ordained it to be that way. So when you do that, that's when we have the issues and the functions that is happening to young men such as, or shall men, period, such as Kirk Franklin. There's a whole lot of Kirk Franklins out there. There is more than one Kirk Franklin. There are a lot of young men that have experienced or that are living with the same pain that Mr. Franklin has lived with for the past 53 years or 49 years of his life. And then what we do, we laugh at it, or I'm going to say this because I was one of them. We falsely accuse them. No, this was a broken man because he was broken. His relationship with his father was broken for whatever reason by his mother. And and this, I don't want to go. I really want to avoid going down certain lanes. But let me say this here, mothers. You were not designed to raise a man. As a matter of fact, you're designed to nurture him to a certain age. But you were not designed to raise him, to rear him up. You know nothing about being a man. You don't have a clue. You are a woman, a man with a womb, however you want to phrase it. And the nerve of you to think that you can do it. You're not equipped for that. The consequences of those choices have left our society broken and our children rebelling against God and the society on a whole. Absolutely. So how can we fix this? How can we fix this? I've said this to myself. I said, we have what we have today. And when you really look at it, to make it real simple, our men, all of our men, I don't care what your color is, of your skin is. I don't care what your background is. I don't care your financial status. I don't care what work you do, your occupation, whatever. But if you're a man, first and foremost, and you're a husband and you're a father, the greatest thing that you can do for yourself, and this is where we've gotten off track, is that we have gotten away from God. God has already laid out the principles in which that we as men are to govern ourselves. It's already been established. But when we strive to do it without God, we have what we have today. We have nothing but straight chaos with our children. When I look at our young children, Black males especially, how they can go into stores and loot, how they can walk up to any human being and take a life, how they can sell drugs, how they can engage in promiscuous acts, how they can impregnate women without any care or any responsibility at all. There's a domino effect is that man has gotten away from God. And because man has gotten away from God, he has gotten away from his responsibilities of rearing up a family. I don't have time to do it now, but I love Deuteronomy 6. That in itself tells us what we ought to do and what we should be doing. But I'm going to close with this. Mr. Franklin, if you ever see this video, I want you to know, first and foremost, that I love you as a man. And I want to apologize for any wrong thought that I had about you. Yes, but I am praying for you. And I'm praying for your relationship. In the documentary, I see that you went to your son and you made an effort to rekindle your relationship with your son, whom you had not seen for 2 years. That's a good start, Mr. Franklin, because we have to break the cycle. And it's interesting that Carry-On, he said this. He said that there is nothing that he had been asking God. Every waking moment, he has been asking God. Nothing more that he has been asking God for was to have a relationship with his father and to have a relationship with his grandfather. And I'm grateful for the act of God that now he would get a chance. He would be able to have that relationship with his father and his grandfather that he desired. And I'm grateful that KIRK apologized to his son. I'm grateful that his son Carry-On forgave. And I'm grateful that they have their father, grandfather with them to provide both of them with guidance through this process. Because there were some things that I heard Mr. Rick say that let me know he's a wise man. Because he pointed out, even in the meeting, and I stand to be corrected, my memory serves me right. He told all of them, he said, listen, this is KIRK's moment. This is his time. This has nothing to do with me, even though I may be part of it, but this has nothing to do with me. This is KIRK's moment. So it's all based on what KIRK wants, and that's what we want to give him. And I applaud him for that. I tremendously applauded him for that. So I'm praying for all men. That's why we do what we do. We do what we do here because to push back against the narrative and the agenda that all men are bad, that all fathers are bad, that all fathers, the system, man, the system is set up, has been set up for a long time against fathers. We have great fathers out here. Great fathers. Shucks, I'm one of them. I'm a great father. I have sons that are great. I have a son that is a great father. And sons that are going to be great father. Why? Because no matter what, they saw me strive to be a great father. Did I make mistakes? Did I have? Yes, I did. But I learned. And I'm grateful to God that I have a relationship with my sons. I'm grateful to God that before my father transitioned, that our relationship was able to be rekindled, was able to be restored. I'm grateful. And that was the greatest. And let me say this too. I want to add this because it just came to me. Some of you may find this very, very, very hard to believe and to accept. Oh, we had one comment said that we need this truth. It is spilling into the educational system. Yeah. Mhm. Talk about educational system. Let me pull into this parking right here a minute. When you look at the system right now, and I most of my children are in the educational system, are educators, shall I say. Most of our children, majority of them are in the education system. And I asked the question, well, how many male teachers do you have? And I'm hearing this that there are not many male teachers in the system anymore, in the education school system. So if we're sending our sons to public schools and they're majoritarily being taught by women and they see what is it, estrogen, they are exposed to estrogen all day long, no testosterone, what are we doing to them? The question is, why have men have chosen not to teach anymore? But yet still we send our children. I remember a lot of my male teachers in school. Oh yeah. I remember a lot. I remember my third grade teacher's name was Mr. Cuff. He was a big, white, muscular guy, but he was a great teacher. It was good being around having a male teacher. Maybe you had more male teachers in school system, it won't be so chaotic as it is right now. I mean, my heart goes out. I'm not saying that to take anything from any female teachers, lady teachers, or women teachers out there. No, not at all. Because we have great women teachers too. We have great women educators. Who cares? But you know what? Let's be truthful. There's only so much that they can do. It is so much that they can do. And then on top of that, mothers can't raise the child. Mothers can't discipline the child. Now we don't want them being disciplined in the school system, but yes, we want to send them to school in order to be taught where there's no discipline. Man, this whole thing is all messed up. It is all messed up. It's all messed up. Yeah. All right. I don't know. Maybe I said some things that might have ruffled some feathers, but I don't even care to tell you the truth. Because they're my thoughts and it's how I feel about it. Nevertheless, but you know what? Yeah, I was wrong about Kirk. Now I understand why he conducted himself in the way in which that he did, why he went the route that he did. But yes, still, I'm believing, I'm praying for restoration in his life. I'm believing and praying that relationship, that he would have the relationship with God that he desires and that he needs, along with the fact that he would have the relationship that he desires with his biological father, as well as his mother. Hey, that's all I got to say. I hope you all got something out of this, okay? But in spite of, I'm praying for you, Mr. Kirk, Mr. Franklin. I'm praying for you. I will continue to do that. And I think that we as a ministry, yeah, we didn't agree with a lot of things that he did. We didn't agree with a lot of things that he participated in. Um, Everything, a lot of stuff is by choice. I'm not here to say I don't know if anybody ever reached out to him and tried to steer or could bring correction to him. I don't know. I would like to think that somebody did, but it's a possibility he didn't. That's why he ended up in the world. Hey, y'all. We love you. We'll see you next week.